Hey everyone! Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more stories like this. Now, let's get into it. Welcome to Lyra's Retribution. At 3 a.m., my sister stealthily twisted the key in my desk drawer, the one I kept secured for a purpose. I wasn't there to catch the faint click. I didn't see her fingers slip inside and snatch the envelope. But by sunrise, the consequences hit me hard. My $11,000 had vanished. Not swiped by some shadowy thief, but boldly spent on a first-class flight to Japan. And she didn't go alone. She dragged our cousin along. Designer bags, trendy outfits, shiny new gadgets. Her Instagram exploded with posts before I could even process it. A week later, she strolled back, tanned, grinning, and draped in lavish gifts. When I faced her in the living room, my dad cut me off before I could finish. "Quit acting," he snapped, as if I were questioning his judgment. "She'd never take your money. She's your sister." His words choked me, because the truth wasn't just in my mind, it was in the receipts, the timestamps, the hotel lobby footage. But I held back that day. Instead, I sank onto the couch, flipped open my laptop, and let them ramble on. Let them call me overdramatic. Let them label me spiteful. Because what they didn't know was this: the card she used wasn't just mine. It was ours. Both our names tied to it. Both our credit histories linked. So when she splurged thousands on her trip, she didn't just mess with my world. She handed me control over hers. I caught her eye over my dad's shoulder as she unwrapped another high-end scarf, carefree. And I smiled, not out of forgiveness or acceptance, but because I already knew how I'd make her regret it. She'd watch, powerless, as everything she thought belonged to her slipped away, one transaction at a time. If something like this has happened to you, drop it in the comments. Revenge screams, justice whispers, and mine was already in motion. She thought she was untouchable. That was her first misstep. I didn't confront her again after that day. No tears, no shouting, no long texts about how deeply she'd betrayed me. Instead, I bided my time observing. The credit card company was eager to hear my story, especially when I shared precise dates, locations, and purchase records, all digitally signed in both our names. It wasn't legally theft, it was shared debt, and debt is a patient, sharp tool when you know how to use it. First, I froze the account. No heads up. One moment, she was at the mall checkout, smirking with an armful of bags. The next, her card was declined in front of a growing line of annoyed shoppers. She called me. I didn't pick up. Second, I requested a full transaction audit, which, per policy, slashed our shared credit limit until the review wrapped up. Suddenly, her monthly subscriptions, streaming services, gym membership, even her beloved luxury spa, started failing. 3 weeks later, her tone shifted from cocky to defensive, then to pleading. Dad called, demanding I fix it, saying I was ruining her life. But I remembered standing in that living room, my $11,000 gone, and him telling me to quit acting. I recalled her smug grin over her shopping haul, like my loss was a minor annoyance. So I smiled and said, "I'm just following the bank's rules. You wouldn't want me to deceive them, would you?" The silence on the line was almost satisfying. Then came the third move. And this wasn't about money. It was about reputation. I sent the bank's notice of her spending irregularities to the family group chat. No words, no context. Her vacation posts used to rack up likes. Now, her feed was met with icy silence. And she still didn't know I wasn't finished. Because this wasn't about recovering my $11,000 anymore. It was about ensuring she'd feel the weight of her actions every time she tried to buy her way above me. And my final play would be lasting. Lasting is a heavy word. It's not petty payback or a brief inconvenience. It's changing something so profoundly it can never revert. For her, it was her name. My sister thrived on credit, not cash. Credit gave her power, flashing a sleek card with her name in gold for dinners, designer outfits, and trips she couldn't afford, then sweet-talking her way into payment extensions. But the bank's investigation left a paper trail she hadn't anticipated, a flagged account, an official notice of joint misuse, and a credit utilization ratio now at 94%. That number alone was toxic to her dreams. I made sure of it. While she sulked over family betrayal, I filed to dissolve our shared account, citing an irreparable breach of trust. The banker reviewed the receipts and approved it without hesitation. In one click, her name was cut from my account. Then I went further. Using those same flag transactions, I placed a fraud protection alert on her credit report. Every lender, landlord, or loan officer who ran her name would see it. That was the lasting part, not just the money, not just the shame, but a shadow that would trail her every time she tried to borrow. Forever. 2 weeks later, a mutual cousin called. She'd been denied a new apartment, something about her credit being off. Did I know anything? I chuckled softly and said, we all live with our choices. Dad stopped calling. Mom tried once, but I let it go to voicemail. It wasn't about cutting them off completely. It was about letting them stew in the silence they'd forced on me when I begged for belief. And yet, the most public part of my plan hadn't even started. Because sometimes, the best revenge unfolds before a crowd. The chance came sooner than expected. A month later, our cousin Lena got engaged. She loved sharing every sparkling detail online. The proposal, the ring, the hashtag she said yes posts. Of course, there'd be an engagement party. Of course, my sister would attend. And of course, I RSVP'd. I arrived early not to socialize, but to set the stage. Lena planned a slideshow of family memories on the banquet hall's big screen before dinner. And guess who she'd asked to help curate the photos? Me. I smiled, nodded, and promised a stunning display. She had no clue what else I'd make it. The slideshow began predictably: baby photos, awkward teen years, beach trips. Then, with a perfectly timed click, the mood shifted. There was my sister grinning in first-class seats, champagne in hand. Caption: Tokyo trip, funded by stolen cash. Next slide. Her in a high-end store, handing over a platinum card. The receipt below listed my name as the primary account holder. A murmur spread through the room. Forks stilled. Glasses hovered. I kept my face neutral, like I was as shocked as everyone else. The final slide. A bold, official fraud alert letter from the credit bureau. Her name front and center. She leapt from her chair, nearly knocking it over, her eyes blazing. You think this is a joke, she snapped. I didn't flinch. Didn't raise my voice. Just said, a joke? No. Necessary? Absolutely. The silence that followed was thunderous. Someone muttered, she really did that? Another whispered, $11, 000. Lena, bless her, shut off the slideshow and stammered about dinner, but the damage was done. My sister couldn't erase it from their minds, or the fact that no one sat near her for the rest of the night. And I still wasn't done. The whispers didn't fade after that evening. By morning, the family group chat was dead, except for one message from my dad. You've humiliated your sister. Fix this. I stared at it. Humiliated her? I was the one whose savings were taken. I was the one told to quit acting by the same man now defending her. I didn't respond. Instead, I logged into my bank account. Because my sister didn't just spend $11,000, she'd maxed out the card. And now she'd learn what happens when you build a fantasy on someone else's name. I contacted the fraud department, sending every screenshot, receipt, and her travel itinerary from her own email. They froze the account instantly. But that was just the beginning. Next, I called my insurance company. Once the fraud case was processed, every purchase from her trip, every handbag, every jewel, every souvenir she flaunted would be deemed stolen goods. And by law, stolen goods must be returned. 3 days later, I got the alert. The account reversal was approved. My $11,000 was restored, and her name now sat in the fraud investigation column. That afternoon, a courier arrived at her door. Witnesses said she stood in her pajamas as he handed her the order. Return everything, the bags, the gifts, even the $1,200 silk kimono from her welcome home photo shoot. Neighbors watched as she loaded boxes into a truck. Someone recorded it, and yes, it hit Facebook. My dad didn't text again, but I know he saw it because my phone lit up with a missed call from Lena. When I answered, she skipped pleasantries and whispered, "You know she's not coming back from this, right?" I smiled to myself. That's the idea. 2 days later, my sister reappeared. I was at a downtown cafe when I saw her storming across the street, sunglasses on despite the overcast sky. She dropped into the chair across from me. "You've ruined my life," she hissed, her voice trembling with fury, not sorrow. "You could have just asked for the money back." I set my coffee down deliberately. "You could have just not taken it." Her jaw tightened, but I noticed her flawless manicure, her designer shoes. Even after losing it all, she still clung to her image of power. "You think people don't see what you've done," she spat. I leaned in. "Oh, they see. Believe me, they see." That's when it hit her. This wasn't just about money. It was about her reputation. Over the past week, I hadn't just let the investigation unfold. I'd ensured everyone who once whispered behind my back knew the truth, backed by cold, hard evidence. Her old coworkers shared the fraud report. Our extended family got emails with screenshots. The community page she used to flaunt on? A factual post about broken trust. No names, but everyone knew. She yanked off her sunglasses, and for the first time, I saw real tears in her eyes. "Please," she whispered, "just stop." I let the silence stretch, heavy and uncomfortable. Then I stood. "You didn't stop when you unlocked that drawer," I said softly. "You didn't stop when you swiped the card." I leaned closer. "You don't get to ask for mercy now." As I walked away, I glanced back once. She sat there, staring into nothing, the woman who thought she could take from me without consequence now left with nothing. And still, my plan wasn't complete. 3 days later, the city courthouse buzzed with activity. Lawyers in crisp suits, security pacing, cameras flashing for an unrelated case. My sister didn't know I'd be there. She didn't know I'd arranged for a hearing she couldn't skip. 2 days earlier, an envelope from the bank's fraud division had landed at her apartment, a formal summons. She thought it was just about repaying the money. She didn't expect it to involve my business credit card, tied to contracts, vendors, and tax filings. To the court, this wasn't family drama, it was criminal misappropriation. I sat in the back row, my attorney giving me a calm nod. When the bailiff called her name, she walked in, her smile forced, like she could still charm her way out. But when she saw me, that smile faltered. The clerk read the evidence, bank statements, timestamps, flight bookings, luxury purchases. Then the moment that changed everything, the video. A security camera I'd installed 6 months prior caught it all. Her using the key, taking the card from my drawer, crystal clear. No shadows to hide in. Her lawyer whispered urgently, but I saw her deflate. The judge's voice was icy. "This isn't a sibling spat. This is theft with clear intent." Those words hit harder than I expected, not just for her, but as validation for me, for every time I was told to let it go, to keep the peace. The court recessed. She avoided my gaze, stuffing papers into her bag with shaking hands. Outside, a reporter tried to get her statement. She shoved past, her face flushed, but she didn't see me step into the sunlight, watching her go. Not yet, because the final step wasn't about courts or accounts. It was about taking away what she valued most. And tomorrow, that would unfold exactly as planned. The next morning, just before dawn, I parked across from the neighborhood club she treated like her kingdom. Weekly brunches, poolside selfies, networking with people richer than they were wise. She lived for it. I'd been there once as her guest. Now I wasn't her shadow. I was the new owner of her membership account. It was simple. Her club fees were paid with my card. Proof of fraud gave me the legal right to transfer every perk tied to that account. The club manager, a mustached man who despised drama, was happy to comply. At 7:14 a.m., I sipped coffee on the balcony as she arrived, designer sunglasses, hair camera ready, strutting like she owned the place. She didn't see me at first, but she saw the security guard blocking her path. "Ma'am, your membership is invalid." Her laugh was sharp. "Check again." He gestured toward me. "It's under their name now." She turned. Our eyes locked. I said nothing, just raised my coffee in a quiet toast. Her face cycled through confusion, realization, then the red sting of humiliation. Phones were out. Whispers spread. She stormed off without a word. And just like that, her carefully crafted world, the one she used to flaunt her status and diminish me, collapsed. I finished my coffee, handed the cup to a waiter, and left. I didn't need her apology or admission. Every time she tried to re-enter that club, she'd be reminded, publicly, that she took from me. And I took it all.